Hello, welcome to Prayer and Perfection. My name is Lisa, and today I wanted to talk to you a bit about my parenting struggles and the lessons I am learning about disciplining my kids. This is in no way trying to give you guys advice about parenting or anything like that. I just wanted to share my journey through it because maybe it will help some of you, because I have learned a few things recently that have helped me quite a bit. The last half a year I have been babysitting 2 kids in my home. I already have 2 kids, so that was 4 kids. Their ages right now are 2, 3, 4, and 5. So yes, that can be a struggle sometimes, especially if I am not being very assertive or authoritative. And that was what I was doing. I was not being the manager or the boss, and that was causing me problems because nobody was taking me seriously. And the respect, or I felt like there wasn't very much respect from the kids, or they weren't obeying me at all, which created some chaos and also created some resentment on my part because I didn't feel like I had the control, and some of the other kids with the bigger personalities kind of running the show or being the boss of how the day went. And that was not the kids' fault, that was my fault, because I am the parent or the adult, and I should have been taking control and should have been disciplining better, but I am learning to do that better. And one of the huge things that helped me a lot was a book that my mom recommended to me that she read when she was parenting us, and that was Dare to Discipline by Dr. James Dobson. If you're at all in the Christian community, you have probably heard of him. He's, I think, the founder or one of the guys involved in Focus on the Family. So he's quite a big name within the Christian evangelical community. He wrote a book about discipline in the 70s, before he even, when his kids were toddlers. And the book I read was like the re-edited version of Dare to Discipline that he redid, I guess rewrote recently, I don't know, in the early 2000s, I think, that he just wanted to reaffirm what he had said back in the 70s now that he had raised his kids, and he still stands by pretty much everything that he had written. So this book was very helpful for me. I had read books in the past about parenting, but they were more like recent child psychologists writing books about how you shouldn't discipline at all, how positive parenting, gentle parenting, how you could damage your child if you have any sort of rules, is basically the gist of what I got from these books. So I felt very frustrated after reading them because they told you a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing and took away a lot of disciplinary tools, and then did not offer me any sort of help. So that kind of created confusion in my mind and chaos in our house, because I felt at a loss for what I was supposed to be doing. After reading this book, lots of things became clear to me, and I am feeling a lot better about how my parenting journey is going now. So one of the big things was corporal punishment, and I'm not here to tell you you should or you shouldn't, or this is the way and this is the right way and this is the wrong way, but I just want to share my thoughts on that topic, because I think everybody's situation is different, but I think it is very disrespectful to our parents who did use corporal punishment to just say that's abuse and that's the wrong way to parent, and that's not gentle parenting and all that, because from my experience as a kid, I disagree with that. I felt very loved. I felt not at all abused, and corporal punishment was used in our home, and I don't feel at all any damage from that. And my husband, who is Korean, also had fairly strong corporal punishment within their home, and he says the same thing. He does not resent his parents at all whatsoever for spanking. So I think that message that all spanking is abuse and all spanking is damaging is not a very good message. I think another thing to go with that is physical abuse is not the only type of abuse. I think words can be very abusive too, and I think actually words can be more damaging than physical abuse sometimes, because those words can stick with you for a lifetime. But I think, as Dr. Dobson says in the book, you should, lead your parenting with love, and your, main focus should be love. The child should know they're loved. You should have a lot of understanding and patience for them as they're growing up and learning and childish, and they're doing immature things. Like if your main reaction is love and patience, that goes a long way for the child. And then if there comes a time where you feel like spanking is necessary, then it's not damaging to the child. Also, the other thing I want to talk about is spanking is not a reaction, an out of control reaction to your child. Like, I hear a lot of people saying that. I wouldn't want to lose control. That's why I don't spank or something. But if you're using spanking in the right way, it's in a controlled way. It's not when you lose your temper that you're hitting people. It's an effective disciplinary tool used in a controlled setting for certain actions, a consequence for certain actions. And he was saying spanking should only be used within a certain age level or brain development level, and also should only be used for certain actions like deliberate, disobedience, or basically if they're testing your authority or going against authority, but not for like childish things that kind of they're going through or learning, like spilling the milk, because they're just don't have the forethought to understand that, things could happen. That's not when you spank them. You spank them when they're not obeying you. And yada, yada, yada. Anyways, read the book. It's way more clear than that. I just found it helpful that there was a distinction between when to spank and when not to spank, and how that is gentle. I find that to be gentle parenting, because most of the time in my household, I'm not spanking the kids. That's not the go-to discipline action, because they're not going against my authority every day. Lots of it is just childish things where you can stop and teach them lessons through, words and understanding and patience. But I think the patience goes a lot further when you do have that tool of spanking or whatever the choice of discipline is, whatever, timeout type of things, when they are being buttholes or whatever on purpose, because that happens too, right? As a parent, when they're being turds and when it's like unintentional. accidents or whatever, right? The other thing is, when I was looking into making my, like, having a registered daycare or whatever instead of just babysitting, the Minister of Education, lady from the Ministry of Education that came to my house was saying, you can't give time out, you can't do this, you can't separate children from each other, you got to provide, if there's a certain toy they're always fighting over, then you have to provide 2 of that toy so they don't have to learn how to share, basically. And, you know, if there's an issue, don't discipline them, just distract them from it, because distraction is an easy tool or something. Anyways, I think that is maybe good advice for schools or wherever where you can't discipline, but in your own home, that's terrible, I think, because the kids aren't learning life lessons. Like, you have to learn how to share in life. You have to learn how to get along with others. You have compromise. You have to learn how to obey authority. Like, those are all lessons that need to be taught to you that don't just come naturally. And I think as the parent, you're probably the best person to teach that, because you can teach that from a loving position, because you probably love your child a lot more than that kid on the, slide when the kid goes to school, or the kid's boss. And as for spanking too, like, adults get disciplined too. For example, like, you can get fired, or now with this whole COVID-19, if you're not following what the government is telling us, we can get fined, you can get put in jail, but you can't do those things to kids. So that's why I think the argument that, you don't hit an adult, so why would you hit a kid, is kind of not great, because you can't kick your kid out of the house when they're 5. You can't, take away their wage because they don't have any. Like, there's very limited things you can do. And yeah, I don't think it's, from my experience as a child, like I said, I don't think it's damaging if it's done correctly and not, used as abuse. Of course, there is physical abuse that happens, but that's not every spanking. Like, that's not every child that was spanked. So I think that's another thing. This book, being from a Christian perspective, was, saying God gives you the authority to be the leader of your children, or the teacher, or the boss of the house. And of course, you are the right person to do that, because you are the adult of the house. I think that's all I'm going to say. I know maybe it's a mumbled, jumbled mess of thoughts, but like I said, that Dare to Discipline book really helped me kind of understand that discipline and corporal punishment are not bad things. They're probably actually healthier than not having any sort of control over your household, and the kids not having any standard of behavior or any guidelines, so they know kind of where to stay. He actually mentions in the book too, like, children like to know where the guidelines are, because it makes them feel more safe. I would encourage you to go read that book if you're struggling, like I was, with control in your house, with resentment towards your kids for not having respect for you, or, taking you seriously at all as the leader of the house. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.